These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Jump to try to avoid him, and he clips him in the face and cuts him. Foligno goes down. They call him for a tripping.
Biz, he was on the ground, and the announcer, I forget who it was, he's like, I think Foligno's getting a penalty here. I was like, what? And then Foligno's going to the box, bleeding, because he just got high-sticked. And he's like, what the hell is happening right now? How am I getting the penalty? And boom, Dallas power play goal. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, that's robbery.
From Spittin' Chicklets, part of Barstool Sports, talking about robbery. Foligno bleeding, flailing, and apparently tripping, according to the referees. Judd is back from a long weekend celebrating his anniversary, but you were still seething over what was happening in that wild game.
I watched the entire game. I didn't go, which was a sacrifice. Don't get me wrong. I sacrificed, but I wasn't about to skip. And Dawn was like, that's fine. We watched the first two periods in our hotel room at the St. James.
Oh, it's haunted. That's haunted.
Just gorgeous, but just a great old hotel.
Did you guys go to that little speakeasy kind of bar in the basement? Looks like it's like a cave kind of situation.
Yep, that's new too. It's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
And then walked across the street, watched the third at a bar there, and it was fun. But that was Foligno dropping F-bombs. Just F-bombing the official was outstanding because he was exactly right.
So you're back with some takes here. You've got and Judd's Hockey Show will be live. We're gonna once again try to break the SKOR North YouTube channel. The games are a little bit staggered, but Judd's Hockey Show live after the game is over, and then Flagrant Howls live after the Wolves Nuggets game is over. But you have a pecking order here for what the Wild needs to do to win this series, as it's tied at 2. And the pecking order is presented by our friends at Dennis Kirk. So it's 50 degrees, a little sunshine out today. I would call this riding season. So whatever you ride, Harleys, Indians, Metric Cruisers, Sport Bikes, you'll find what you need at DennisKirk.com so you can ride more and wait less. Over 180,000 parts and accessories in stock, clothing and helmets as well. Shipping is free for orders over $89. If you order by 8 p.m., they ship the same day. Everything you need for your ride at DennisKirk.com. All right, the floor is yours, Judd.
All right, first of all, this is done because there is, and I get it, but there is already fear that this is a repeat of last spring. Wild was up 2-1 on the Blues. They lost game 4. It was 2-2. They then lost in 6. And I've seen and I've saw lots of, it's the same as last year. Same thing, same team. And just to be very clear, it's not the same team. It's a much different team. That team was a high-flying group that if they didn't score, were absolutely screwed. This team plays a different style. It's built differently. So Sport Dad comes to you with optimism and hope, not to denigrate this team and say it's going to be a failure like it was last year. Keep in mind, a lot of series in this playoffs, which have been magnificent, are tied at 2. So, being tied at 2 is not something to be ashamed of. Your game 2 performance was. The game 4 performance was not. That's a heck of a game, and I did not come away from that game saying, man, did the Wild suck. So here are your 5 things, though, that the Wild needs to do for the remainder of this series to come out on top. Keep in mind, I said Wild in 7. All right. The first is the most important one. Kill a damn penalty. The Dallas Stars are 7 of 16 on the power play. The Blues in the first round in 6 games last year had 8 goals. You need to kill a penalty. Killing a penalty is about structure. It's about work. It's not about skill and talent. Dallas's power play is high powered. They're very good. But you know what? It's the playoffs. This is what you're going to see. Teams are good because it's the playoffs. Kill a penalty. You absolutely, positively, 7 of 16. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And a shorthanded goal. Are you joking? Come on. They made some adjustments for game 2, power play wise or PK wise, that I think helped out a bit. But, again, on Sunday, you have to kill a penalty. And to give up 7 goals on 16 chances and 15 power play goals in the past 2 playoff series, come on. Somebody's got to find a clue or get a clue here, or else somebody's job, and I don't mean Dean, but you've got a penalty killing. You've got someone who's assigned to penalty killing.
Fire Dean's ass.
This is inexcusable. This is inexcusable.
You're fired.
This is Dean. I don't blame Dean It's an assistant, I'm sure, but you got to do a better job.
Fire the assistant's ass. Fire the assistant's ass. All right.
You can't give up 15 power play.
I agree. No,
goals
I
in
agree.
two
I agree.
playoffs.
I just like that you
can't.
you kind of called for someone's head there, and I thought it was, great.
Exactly right. All right. The next thing is this. Remember the playoff slogan.
Grit first.
Grit first. Say it with me. Grit first.
Grit first.
Okay, you know what
You
this
can't
means?
really chant that, though, can you? They should have
It-
come
but
up with
here's
something.
The thing. No, but here's the thing. For the first time in my recollection, a playoff slogan is not for the fans. It's for the players. This is literally a slogan created for the players to keep in mind. The fans don't have to. Whatever you want to say, you say. Which you did a good job with. Suter sucks. Suter sucks.
See, that should be that. I
Fantastic
like
job.
that as a playoff slogan.
Just
Actually.
Suter
Should that
sucks.
be the
I didn't.
towel?
I didn't know. I knew that you felt that way about Suter, and some people did. I didn't realize that the arena full of 20,000 fans also feels that way about Suter. That's kind of
The
crazy.
Kaprizov thing in game one changed it.
Okay, that's
But I
fair.
mean, it is a lifetime achievement award for him being a extraordinarily difficult person here.
Yeah.
But that slogan is how you have to play, and I'm going to tell you right now. So game 2 is just terrible. But you know what game 4 was? And Jake Ottinger stood on his head. We all agree. You got Jake Allen by Jake Ottinger, okay? But that being said, what happened is this too. The Wild started to skate with Dallas. Now, they can technically do that, but they're going to lose. Think about how the Wild played. And I think I sent Dex a text in the first saying, this is concerning me. Not because it's not fun. Like, as a fan, it's fun to watch. It's great hockey. But Dallas is better at that game than you are. And so, like, if both teams get a little bit loose, right? And as far as which goaltender is going to stand on his head more often right now, and more importantly, which team is going to take advantage of those chances, it's Dallas. So I would argue that for tonight, game 5, game 6, hopefully game 7, you need to tighten things up here. You cannot fall into their game. You're not, as I've said all year long, you guys, you're not good enough to play their game. You are good enough to try and slow their game down. And you will know the Wild is playing well if the games get slightly more boring. Sunday was far too exciting. It was great to watch. Again, as a fan, I love it. So if I'm dipping in, I love it. But if I am a fan of this team and I want this team to win, I don't want them thinking that they can play that game with Dallas, because it's Dallas's game, not theirs.
Well, I will say Dallas had much more lapses defensively than Minnesota did. Mm-hmm. And if Dallas puts themselves in a position like that again, Jake Ottinger's not going to go 9 for 1 again on odd man rushes. So, yes, there's certain things about the Wild stooping to their opponent's level that you definitely don't want to see. But I will say if Dallas plays like that again, the Wild will convert more of those goals. I wouldn't say the Wild have to tweak things too much going into game 6 or game 5, I should say. But they have to convert those chances that Dallas left Ottinger out to dry on. Ottinger's a better goalie than Jake Allen. Let's give him credit a little bit more than that. I mean, Ottinger's pretty good. But if Dallas leaves them hanging again, the Wild will convert 1 or 2 of those chances for sure.
Like Foligno fanned on a wide open. There's a couple that were like backdoor post.
Yeah.
The issue, though, the problem was this. Those chances are fun and exciting, and you take them. But what you need to do is Jake Ottinger can't stop pucks he can't see. He can stop everything he sees. Think about the amount of odd man rushes, which are fine, that ended up with clear shots. So they're unbelievable saves, but he can make those. You need to muck things up. Net front, and I don't mean goon it up. I mean net front presence. I mean screens. If Ottinger can see it, he's good enough to stop it. And you did not. Those power plays were awful. The Wild's power plays were terrible. They never established enough control. And again, you got to get guys in front. You got to get guys in Ottinger's sight lines. So, like, I get what Dex is saying, but it's a very subtle change from, well, just next time you'll win a high-flying game. I'm going to tell you right now, you will lose a high-flying series. They'll beat you in that series. You've got to be in front. You've got to create havoc. They did not. They fall in love with thinking that they're good, and they're not good enough to play like they're good. They are a hardworking team. It's great first. I mean, I'm not joking. I am not being a smartass. What's on the towel, what's on my towel right here, is not for the fans. It's for the players. Because you have a lot of guys who think, oh man, look at my pass. Look at the passes on Sunday. Let's get fancy. Well, I've got a shot, but what if I pass it? The best shot of the game on Sunday, Ryan Hartman, odd man rush, and he was questioned by the announcers because it was a 2-on-1 with Kaprizov. Hartman took the shot, and the announcers are like, well, you want to pass that puck to Kirill. Ordinarily, you're right. But but earlier in that game, there had been a 2-on-1 where Kirill passed to Zuccarello. And Ottinger, you're going to beat him if he thinks you're going to pass. Like, you cannot, with a guy like Ottinger, you can't just say, well, we're going to get shots on. It's specific shots on that. It's specific decisions. That's what you need. And that's where, and again, I enjoyed game 4. So I just want to make this very clear. It was a fun game. I'm not denigrating the game, but I'm saying if you want to win this series, which is what this pecking order is about, you need to be smarter. All right. The next thing.
I still feel like we need a more chantable slogan, okay?
Well,
like, even if it's
Suter
for the
sucks.
players.
Just go with yeah. Suter sucks is eminently.
How about you're not good? You're not good. That's what you're telling them. You're not good. So just
do your job. You know what? How about this?
Be self-aware.
How about this? Do your job. Do your job, because your job
Pucks
is not,
on net.
Pucks on net. Exactly right. Don't overpass. Hey, Boldy, don't pass the freaking puck, okay? The next one. Your goalie is going to have to steal at least another, if not a couple games. It's probably Gus is my guess, but I'm not positive. But what I'm saying is Gus, game 1, 51 saves. Unbelievable, right? Game 3 win. The Wild was unbelievable. Played their game to a T. Ottinger steals game 4. You're going to need to get, I think, at least one more where your goaltender makes saves. And the game was not on him, to be clear. But Gustafsson didn't make on Sunday.
I know that a lot of people might listen to this even after the puck drops. And this applies to the whole rest of the series, so it's not just applicable to Game 5. But are we sure Gustafsson is starting Game 5? Felt like they may have left a window open here for Dino to put the flower back out there.
Nope, you're correct. I'm just saying whoever starts is going to have to steal one more game at least, if not 2. Like, that's there were 2 goals in particular I thought that Gus gave up that were very difficult saves, but they could have been made. The last goal on the I'm sorry. The goal that was scored right after the Dallas player, Dodonov, got out of the box. And I think it was a wrist shot that hit Gus's glove. That's an incredibly tough save, but you got to make it. Like, this is the time of year you make that save or you go home. Feel shame.
Okay. All right.
All right. The next one. This is, and I'm going down a list, so I'm getting to probably more just obvious things. But you've got to get Boldy and Kaprizov cooking. Boldy has 0 goals, and in the past 2 playoffs, he now has 1 goal. Kaprizov has 1 goal. Now, where I'll defend him a little bit is I thought he was all over the ice on Sunday. He had a lot of chances. He didn't score, and I get that that's the bottom line. You got to score. But I noticed him, and it's hard for me to rip a guy when he's playing so well that, like, you see him all the time. And Kaprizov, to me, was that guy on Sunday. Boldy, another story. This is a Fiala disappearance. Like, dude, you've got to score. You've got to I've got to notice you. You know, Kirill didn't score. Disappointing. Would like him to get goals. But that being said, I didn't come away from that game, Declan, going, I didn't see 97. Matt Boldy, dude, this is no time to go ghost. And you're ghosting this right now.
Yeah, you knew, and Kirill's banged up a little bit too. He only played in those couple games. He had that nasty cross-check from Suter early on in this playoff series, so he's fighting it a bit. But you would think that Boldy would naturally kind of reap the benefits of Kirill being the guy that's being shut down, and can Boldy kind of pick up some of that slack. And he's had a ton of shots. He didn't have a shot in this last game in Game 4, so he's had certainly opportunities, and I like what I've seen from Johansson. At this point, as much as they don't love to break these guys up, you need to take Zuccarello off of Kirill Kaprizov. You need to put him with Gustav Nyquist. I don't know if I'm spoiling one of the things for Judd, But I would put Nyquist with Kirill Kaprizov at this point. Kirill needs to get going. You need your superstar to take things over. You see it all the time in the playoffs. One of these guys will eventually take things over. It's been 4 games. You haven't seen it yet. You need to get Kirill Kaprizov moving immediately.
Okay, in a sport that loves line changes and shuffling things up, why is that not? Why is separating those two players not an obvious thing to try?
Because they've always played together, Phil. Because that's the way that Mats and Kirill and Dean like it. I agree completely.
They can
with
play
you.
together again in Game 6 if you want to.
Dex's point goes into my 5th and final point, and I agree completely. You need to juggle lines, okay? So I got this tweet on Sunday. I liked it. It sort of goes against what Dex is saying, but it could be tweaked easily. Boldy, Johansson, Nyquist. But if you were to make that Zuccarello and moved Nyquist to the Kaprizov line, that's fine. The other guy I want Sundqvist in, and I want Steele out. I want Sundqvist centering Foligno, Sundqvist, Foligno, Gaudreau at center. That is going to be a heavy line. That's going to be a line that because the one thing Dallas doesn't have that the Wild has is they've got big bodies to check, right? And I'm not saying take cheap shots. I'm saying just check and hit. And Foligno has been a master at that all series. But here's the thing about Sundqvist, who has played 1 game, and I believe he scored a goal in game 2. Sundqvist is a veteran of the playoffs. He has won a cup. He has been around this before. Steele is a nice story, and I'm sure his parents love him very much, but I don't need him playing right now. And to Declan's point, if he wants to go Zuccarello and Nyquist switch, that's fine, but Dean needs to create more sparks. And I feel like he always thinks, well, if I just leave things a lot of times, they'll eventually click, because they did in February. Got news for you, Dino, to say in February. This is April, and it's almost May.
How do you differentiate between trying something for the sake of trying something, a line change, versus something strategic that actually leads to a spark?
Well, in Boldy's case, I want him with more talent. I want him flat out with more talent. He has proven time and time again, the more talent that you give him, the better he becomes, because he's not a grinder. He is not a mucker. He's a guy that can score goals. He can check too. But the fact is that every time that they're like, Matthew Boldy is going to learn his lesson and check, he goes backwards. And then in the regular season, they get Johansson, and he's fantastic. Well, guess what? I want to put him on a line with more talent now, with higher end talent, to actually try and maximize him, because he's shown when he is given that opportunity, he excels. The more that you raise the water table for Matt Boldy ordinarily, the better he gets, not the worse.
Okay. All right. So, that's 5 things here. That's the list. All right, there is.
That's the 5th thing. Juggle the lines. But yeah, kill a damn penalty. I mean, come on.
Judd is back, just unleashing takes after a 3-day weekend. Penalty kills. Do more of them.
Be successful. You've given up 7 power play goals.
Grit first. Don't forget about your team slogan.
Yep.
At some point, either the Gus Bus or the Flower is going to need to steal a game here if you want to win the series.
Yep.
And then we need to get Boldy and Kaprizov cooking, specifically Boldy, and juggle some lines to spark something. For God's sakes, Dean, do something.
Yep.
Is the pecking order.
Grit first. It's not a slogan. It's right now, it's a lifestyle.
It needs to be a lifestyle. Sounds to me like it's more of a three days a week situation for the Wild. It needs to be a 7 days a week.
They're part-time Grit first employees.
They're like I'm going to do sober January, but not on Saturdays and not count wine.
Me.
Right?
That's what Declan did.
Yeah, that's what I did. I lasted 2 weeks before I almost ruined my relationship. So I needed to get off the needed to get back on.
Oh wait, so you almost ruined your relationship because you weren't drinking?
That is correct.
Because you weren't?
Horrible person. I was so miserable. Eventually, she looked at me and just said, "I can't do it anymore. Just go have a drink."
You know what?
I can't deal with you.
You know what? That's like when Dawn tried to quit smoking more than once. like 3 days in, I'm like, I'm going to the store. I'm going to get you some cigs right now.
Just have a cig, for God's sake.
I can't do this.
Just have a cig.
I can't do this. Here, Marlboro
us.
Ultralights. Here they are. Enjoy them. Get off my back.
So there's Judd's pecking order. We're doing post game recaps and vent lines, and we'll kind of figure out as these teams progress into the draft, like Thursday and Friday night potentially. We're coming up with a game plan for that too. But yeah, check out Judd's Hockey Show. Check out Flagrant Howls on the SKOR North YouTube channel on this, what is it, Tuesday night, and we'll see how far these series go. All right, we got to get to a Purple Daily recording because Thor is foaming at the mouth with reckless draft speculation. See you guys.